Akbar. I'm here today because I'm human.
I'm going to drive.
I'm here today because I'm an imam.
I'm going
and I'm a rabbi, pastor, reverend, bishop. Call me whatever name you want. Because we are one ummah, one nation under one God. God has respected human beings. No one. We're not afraid of anyone. We are good people. We're not criminals. We came to America for better life. We came here for American dreams. Why us? So I'm here today to share this with you. We're not afraid. We know that God is protecting us. No one can terrorize us. This regime must go and they're leaving soon. And I'm positive and I'm quiet about it. So let me share this with you now. When I first come to the United States, even the regular people, when they do something, they say, God bless America. But a few years ago, we forgot all about God and we become godless people. That's why God is punishing us. That's why this guy is in Washington, D.C. for this school. Let us respect ourselves to Allah, to God, and we will make it. Christian, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, we are human. Let us come together and say no, no to this regime, no to these people. We are not criminals. We are here to represent God on the earth. We're not going anywhere. Deportation, no deportation. Orders or no orders. We're not criminals. We're not leaving. America is our home, our sweet home. Thank you so much for having
me. Thank you so much, Imam Konate. Here we go. We are here, as he said, we are human beings. Muslims are full human beings, am I right? Black people are full human beings, am I right? Who would have thought in 2017 we have to say these words? But just a few days ago, John Kelly, the man who a lot of people deluded themselves into thinking was going to bring reason to the White House, he came out and told the world that Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general who led people to fight and kill to defend chattel slavery, a white supremacist genocidal institution, John Kelly called him an honorable man. This is a shame that's being brought on this country and on the world if we do not stand up and say no. Black people are full human beings. Muslims are full human beings. Women are full human beings. LGBTQ people are full human beings. Immigrants are full human beings. And people around the world, people born in other countries who speak different languages, who have different cultures, their lives are as valuable as our lives, am I right? Donald Trump campaigned on an ugly slogan, and you hear it all over the place, America first. And his supporters get out there and they chant, USA. Like this is the only place that has people whose lives matter. I want you guys to say this with me. We're going to do a chant. It's very simple. It is 2 words, and it is the complete opposite to the morality of Donald Trump. It is humanity first. 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 All right, y'all. We're going to do that as we march in a little while. But first, I want to bring somebody else up. We got a lot of messages coming in. A lot of messages of support. election, but he sees the victory anyhow. And Gloria Steinem sent us a message then, and we want to give you, she sent her regards to these rallies today. She could not be here, but we're also going to share the statement she gave us when we launched this movement. Welcome Linda to read the statement from Gloria Steinem.
Hi there. Wow, this is so exciting. When I was a little girl, I wanted to grow up and be just like Gloria Steinem. So this is quite an honor. All right, this is from Gloria. Our Constitution does not begin, I, the President. It begins, we, the people. The single positive result of the so-called election of Donald Trump, an unqualified, unstable, and authoritarian man who does not deserve to be invited into the White House, much less its occupant, is that we know now the responsibility lies with us. I am heartened by all the street demonstrations that I had that have been a constant in every city since the election, by the planned marches in Washington during the time of the inauguration, and by the major demonstrations in every state capital on this day of the Electoral College. Now, we know it's up to we the people, and we will not allow one authoritarian to dictate to us. Thank you for being here tonight in support of that future to which we aspire, democracy.
What's up? Can we make some noise for the statement from Gloria Steinem? How folks feeling right now? If you're tepid, let me hear you go, If you're outraged, let me hear you go, ah! All right, we have a quick logistical announcement right quick. There's a gap in the middle, y'all. Again, we're here to be together. And folks out here, police in particular, are starting to push people into the second pin. But we got plenty of room actually in the back of the first pin. So people, come on in, come on up to the front so that we can get more room in those first pins so they don't have to push us into the second one. Alright? Second thing, coming up right quick. Got a special treat for y'all coming up. Alright? Our next speaker. How many folks, can you make some noise if you're a fan of hip-hop? Alright? So I've always wanted to say that to like a crowd of people. Hip-hop, hip-hop, hip-hop. Alright? Next up, we have rapper and activist. Alright, this is a person I look up to immensely for the stand that they have taken in terms of their art and their music. Alright? A lyrical nightmare, and someone who's actually used his platform specifically to talk about global and socio-political issues. An endorser, one of the people who has actually begun this movement of refuse fascism. Let's give it up for Immortal Technique.
Thank you very much. I think it's important to have some context about how we got here. A long time ago, when we were told that we would have a liberal president under Obama, we continued under imperialistic policies. And now we're surprised when we planted the seeds of despotism at our own door. There's still no health care. There's still no human rights. People are still blind to the fact that we've begun wars that have no end in sight. We've ignored the issues at home, and the issues abroad have gotten worse, and the issues at home haven't gotten any better. In terms of unity, we're at an all-time low because people can't even decide what the violation of human rights are, because people can't even tell you who's a human being or not. They'll tell you some people are aliens. We're not aliens. We're not from space. We're other human beings that were involved in a war with the United States of America who took their territory. We're indigenous people. And at the end of the day, we have to admit certain things to ourselves, that Columbus never discovered America. Indigenous people discovered Columbus, lost its sea. That this country was built by a multitude of people, but when we say this country was built by immigrants or immigrants about the truth, and that people were enslaved. They were not slaves. There's no person who's born a slave. We're all born free human beings. They went through a process of dehumanization and slavery. And now we're finally discussing that history, and I appreciate that we have an honest conversation amongst ourselves. We need health care, because even the people that are angry and disagree with us, they need treatment too. That's right. They asked me to share a small poem, so I will, and I'll leave. But before I go, I just want to say peace and respect to everybody who came out tonight, even if you have slight disagreements or whatever. Imagine the word of God without religious groupies. Imagine a savior born in a Mexican Houthi, persecuted single mother in a modern manger. You crucify him again like a fucking stranger. Tears of anger are worth more than diamonds and rubies. Imagine being locked up since juvie. Imagine changing your life and still going out like Tukey. Imagine people talking shit when they never knew me. Imagine a movie that depicted the pain in your life, like them kids in Afghanistan chasing a kite. For most of the world, that's what it's like. Imagine if the person you're supposed to love for the rest of your life is set to marry someone else at the end of the night. They say you fight the greatest jihad in your heart and your mind, and fight the hardest when you start from behind. So I dream the impossible all the time. Fuck a Masonic design, America's future is mine. Repeat that to yourself, because if our culture's a crime, then numbers tatted on your arm aren't too far behind. They can only conquer you after they murder your mind. So rise up, motherfucker, like the sign of the times. I feel my body weakening, but my spirit is fine, ready to go to war with devils at the drop of a dime, and fight with my rebel army until the stars are aligned. Because Nostradamus was a white man's prophet who predicated European supremacist logic, because the pilgrims and the conquistador columns killed more innocent people than Hitler and Stalin. So I guess the fortune teller skipped an antichrist or two. Brother, give this to the OGs doing life with you, and pray for the problems with the Pope's psychology, so the Vatican will offer an apology for destroying the people's liberation theology, snatching the spirit of Jesus from people in poverty. Business decisions like keeping people in prison, but had the opposite effect, incarcerating religion. That type of crooked politics exposed to the populace is obvious if you read the Northwood documents. So fuck the compliments for what I recorded, and please live for revolution instead of always dying for it. I love y'all. Thank you very much. Get home safe. Get home safe, and keep educating your children about how this started. I love y'all. God bless you. And to the people that are angry, I hope you wake up, because it's not going your way. And he doesn't care about you. You're just another cog in the wheel. You're nothing to him. You're another number he's going to scam like he's done 1,000,000 times. You're not from New York. I'm from New York City. I'm from Harlem. We know a fraud when we see a fraud, ladies and gentlemen.
Give it up for a motor technique. Look, the songs that we shared together, the chants that we shared together. Let's try this one more time. I think y'all know it. No Trump, no KKK, no. All right, no Trump, no KKK, no. I said no Trump, no KKK, no. I said no Trump, no KKK, no. All right. So look, the chants that we bring together, the songs that we bring together, these things actually bind us for more than just this moment and more than just a day. The music that we make together and the culture that we make together sustains this movement. This is a more than one day thing, y'all. Like Samsara said, we're coming back out next Saturday. We're coming back out the Saturday after that. And RefuseFascism.org has plans for every day in between. But I got a question for y'all. Are y'all coming back? Will you be here? I got another question. Y'all got friends? I said, do you have friends? Will they be here? Will you bring them here? Will you bring them here the next week? Because this movement grows from thousands to millions starting today. Now we're going to hear from another musician, a Grammy Award-winning composer, right, of the Afro-Latin Jazz Orchestra. I've seen this guy take the inside of a piano and make it sound like it was singing inside. Can we give it up for... Also, it's going to be read by Another artist. This is like a section of art right now. We got the front man, the song and dance man of the revolution, Miles Soleil from Outer National, who's going to be up to read a statement from Grammy Award-winning composer Arturo O'Farrill of the Afro-Latin Jazz Orchestra. Let's make some noise.
Good afternoon. You are in the place to be today. November 4th, it begins. This is not a one-day thing. We're going to stay in the streets until our demand is met. The Trump-Pence regime must go. I'm from the band Outer National, and it's my honor to read a statement that was sent from halfway around the world by the Grammy Award-winning, incredible, world-renowned leader of the New York Afro-Latin Jazz Orchestra, Arturo O'Farrill. This is Arturo. In all of my years traveling as a musician, I have never seen the standing of the United States as low as it is now. Every human being I speak to throughout the planet is horrified by the current administration. We have become the laughingstock of the planet. We are feared and reviled. The president's lack of control, his violent temper, his thin and vain skin, together with his appalling lack of intellect, knowledge of history, and general misunderstanding of the world has forced the planet to reckon with a new mediocrity. It is a dangerous and deeply embarrassing moment in American history. Arturo O'Farrill continues, the Trump-Pence regime represents the apex of American racism, sexism, violence, division, and fear-mongering. It is also the most repressive and fascist-like governance we've ever seen. Designed to keep the wealthy in their boardrooms genuflecting to their gods of money and greed, this regime perpetuates the lie of economic growth through financial genocide of the middle class and poor, all perpetuated by lies and misinformation. At a time of global crisis, these clowns respond with the America First rhetoric that will in fact bring tremendous pain to our shores. The Trump and Pence regime must be brought down immediately. A statement from the Advisory Board Committee member of Refuse Fascism, Latin Grammy Award winner, renowned musician Arturo O'Farrill.
Okay, and give some love to Miles Soleil of Outer National, Future Rock. Okay, y'all, so I emphasized this at the beginning, but I'm going to tell you again. In case you forgot, because you've been hearing a lot of beautiful words and a lot of big ideas, but also in case you came a little late. We are refusefascism.org. We are a movement for everybody, whatever political perspective you are coming from, however old or young you are.
And it must be said that there are people in this country who refuse to be silent, who have stood up with courage and conviction and braved the lies and the threats of violence and death by fascist trolls. Today, we and people just like us in cities and towns across the country have overcome fear and uncertainty, recognizing the grave danger that the Trump-Pence regime presents to humanity. And we are standing together to say, this nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go. And in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. And we are rallying today to begin a new phase of the struggle, to bring about what millions of people ache to see, an end to a regime that imperils the lives of millions of people, a regime that denies basic rights, denies people's humanity and even their basic health. And yet its danger is far greater than all of that. Without exaggeration, the future of humanity and the planet hangs in the balance from what the Trump-Pence regime is doing. This is a regime that is playing roulette with nuclear weapons and that is denying science and climate change while discarding environmental regulation. Millions know and millions feel this horror. Who will end this nightmare? We will. So, give me a second. But now it's your turn to answer the question. Who will end this nightmare? It's only the determined struggle of millions of people acting together with courage and conviction that can drive this regime from power. And today, we are beginning a process of continuing protests that are going to demand this whole illegitimate regime be ousted from power. We are going to reach out to all sections of the people, spreading this everywhere, growing week by week and month by month. Listen to me. Week by week and month by month, we are not going to give up on this. We are going to build a movement that increases in size and determination. And we will not be deterred by naysayers, by cynics, by those who normalize, accommodate, or conciliate with a regime such as this. We are right to do this. The time is now. The hour is late. Our actions today across the country reflect the values and respect for humanity and the world that we want. And it's all in stark contrast to the hatred and the bigotry of the Trump-Pence regime and those who would defend it or stand to the side. And we have what we need to begin. Number one, we have an understanding of what it is we are fighting. This is not a normal presidency. This is a regime working every day to bring about an American fascism, manifest destiny, and American exceptionalism. A fascism wrapped in the Bible, taken literally in the American flag, saturated with racism, misogyny, and xenophobia. Number two, we have a plan to bring forward the hundreds and the thousands and the hundreds of thousands and eventually the millions of people to create a situation where this regime is forced from power. And number three, we have a plan for the next 2 weeks that will be a springboard so that we can work to change the calculus from what may seem impossible today to become a movement that shakes the political ground. For 11 months, there has been one outrage after another from the Trump-Pence regime. Outrages that assault the conscience and threaten the world, and in its very extremeness, fills people with anguish and anger, and that is the basis for millions to act on our demand. Can anyone seriously deny that the Trump-Pence regime is working to radically eviscerate the rule of law, bludgeon the truth, demonize and terrorize immigrants, disabled people, refugees, Muslims, deny that this is a regime that stigmatizes LGBTQ people, that tramples Native American people's rights, that threatens Black and Latino youth with more police brutality and mass incarceration, that threatens the environment and even more, including with nudity. That this is a regime that despises women, from the sexual predator in chief to a vice president and much of a cabinet who would return women to the Middle Ages without rights to control their own destiny. We act now because fascism gets normalized as it gathers momentum. Fascism gets normalized as it gathers momentum. While group after group gets demonized, others get by. They go about their daily lives, and the unthinkable becomes routine, and the abnormal becomes normal. And then, it might take only a single incident, intentional or not, for the hammer to drop. My friends, history has shown that fascism must be stopped before it becomes too late. And for those of you, or those out there who have thought that letting Trump's generals run the show would bring adult supervision into the room, now you see that you have a president and a chief of staff who denies the horror of slavery and the necessity of a civil war to end it. And today, November 4th, as Donald Trump stomps into Asia, 7 billion people hold their breath for fear of what he might unleash or put in place while he's there. All of this should make clear, painfully clear, that we cannot wait. We cannot stand by. We must fight from where we are now. We must unite and struggle together to drive out this momentous regime. The hour is late, but the time is now. Now let's get down on the ground. Some people are going to tell you that we cannot do this, but they are wrong. This is possible. Last year, the South Korean people, starting right about now, took to the streets in demonstrations that took place at first every week, and then they mushroomed over a few months to politically engulf the whole country. It forced the removal of their president. They created a crisis of legitimacy, and on that basis, all kinds of previously hidden truths became revealed, and the people began to pour out. Cracks that had existed in the superstructure in society turned into deeper and deeper fissures, and more struggle erupted, and the legitimacy of the regime began to unravel. And faced with that situation, the powers that be in South Korea found the mechanism somehow to remove their duly elected president and call new elections by March. So understand, that was a smaller country, went from October to March. But some people are going to tell you that's South Korea, and the United States is not South Korea. Well, duh. In fact, the horrific danger and the horror of the Trump-Pence regime far exceeds that of the former president of South Korea, with therefore far greater potential to arouse broad and determined struggle. Look, our objective is nothing less than creating a movement from below to force the removal of the Trump-Pence regime. And starting today, we are calling on every person, every organization, every group to be part of beginning a movement of protest that gathers momentum, where people are out every day reaching out and protesting in waves. Every day there are new outrages from this regime and new divisions and conflicts among the powers that be. Republican senators are forced out of their party, but then they speak some little truth about the danger of Trump. Indictments, scandals, infighting. Our call to action, which everyone here should sign and get everybody else to sign, it says this, quote, "Our determination to persist and not back down will compel the whole world to take note. Every force and faction in the power structure would be forced to respond to our demand. The cracks and divisions among the powers that are already evident today will sharpen and widen. And as we draw more and more people forward to stand up, all of this could lead to a situation where this illegitimate regime is removed from power. Without it, it won't happen." How do we get where we need to go? How do we get there? Well, we start with the 2-week plan to springboard from where we are today. We're going to start with our march. We're going to show people on this march that there is a force now daring to go against the regime. We're going to be telling them we're ready to go now, chanting and saying and signifying in every way to the people to join us, to join us, to join us, to join us, to fight for the future. And then there are plans for different protests, speak outs, rallies, outreach in most days in most cities. And Sansara and Jamel are going to tell you of the plans for New York, but I understand that every day you can find Reduce Fascism at Washington Square Park from 4 to 6 p.m. But now here, listen to this. The 2-week plan is this. There's 3 nationally coordinated days. This coming Wednesday, which is November 8th, which is the anniversary of the election. Take to the streets. This is no time to reminisce about the shock you felt last year. Go out to the high schools. Join protests in March. Let's move people from wearing not my president buttons to a situation where he really is not president. And everywhere we go, reach out and bring more and more people into the streets. And second in this plan, next Saturday, 1 week from today, November 11th, which is Veterans Day, at the end of Donald Trump's Asia trip, come out for major protests against the unconscionable way this madman and his generals have put all of humanity at direct risk of extermination. Take to the streets next Saturday with the lives of our sisters and brothers around the world in our hearts, letting them know that this narcissistic madman is not going to take down the world in our name. And then, the third thing on our national plan, 2 weeks from today, hit the streets, multiply the size of today's march in more cities with more people, more organizations saying together, this nightmare must end, the Trump-Pence regime must go. And over these 2 weeks, there have to be a lot of different kinds of activities and protests and rallies and ways to organize. And the most important thing that each of you can do is to reach out and involve more people, hand out flyers, speak to groups. And look, we know that this is new for most of you. It's really out of the ordinary from what you've done in your lives. But there is nothing ordinary about Trump and this regime. These are times when ordinary people have to do the extraordinary. So on November 18th, we must have thousands more people get into a situation where every time there's some new outrage from this regime, which is going to be and has been every day, people must say, oh, what about that they must go movement? Maybe I should be a part of that. But look, I want to get down a little deeper in this before I wrap up. There are those who are going to tell us that we should not do this, who look at this regime and their determination to vilify and to repress opponents. People who honestly see the bloodlust and the coarseness and the bigotry at the very heart of this, and who say out of this same honest concern that the Trump regime is too vicious and we have no choice but to wait for elections or to fight the attacks as they come up and to hope for the best. But our answer is this: every great struggle everywhere has demanded courage and has demanded sacrifice. We cannot shrink from that. We will not be provoked into foolish or alienating actions, nor will we be cowed by the slander and vilification this regime wallows in and attempts to divide us against each other. There is way too much at stake for any of that. And we remember today the words of Pastor Martin Niemöller, the German clergyman who ended up in Hitler's concentration camp. Niemöller said, first they came for the communists, but I was not a communist, so I said nothing.
As we are here and we're seeing the militarization of America in our communities, the poor communities around, not just around America, but around the country and the world, we are seeing rights, human rights that are being assimilated and dismissed in mass numbers every day. We have to watch the sign of the times, because we are saying, we have to stand up and say, and even though it's small numbers of us, if they see leadership, if people who are on the fence, they see our leadership, then what they will do is they will follow. So we have to keep standing up. As we enter into a new world and a new day and age, there has to be a change. Too many lives lost. And I'll give my life for this cause, and I will die for this cause. Are you with me? Are you with me? Act like it. Let me hear you. Are you with me? Today has to be a change in America. We have to say very loudly and clearly that neocons must go. Power
in memory of those who stood against the Nazis and everyone who has stood for justice throughout history against very heavy odds. We do not seek unnecessary sacrifice. On the contrary, we will do everything we can to prevent anyone in this movement from coming to harm, and we will protect each other. But we know that sacrifices are necessary in any great cause and against entrenched power. And we know this, that we are not acting in isolation, but we are acting together with many others who recognize this great danger and are part of this great fight, and that we represent the interests of humanity as a whole. Friends, we represent the people. The people and the planet are depending on us. This nightmare really must end, and there is a way to do this. Beginning here, and beginning now, and beginning with each of you, and beginning these next 2 weeks. And then we're going to go on from there. So I'm going to ask you to join me in pledging. In the name of humanity, I refuse to accept the fascist America. This nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go. 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 Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the streets.
Thank you so much, Andy Z. Show some love for Andy Z. All right, y'all. We got just a couple more speakers. We got a little bit of noise and some practice chants we want to take you through before we hit the streets. But I want to take a moment. You just heard a serious plan. And it's a plan, as he said, not just for one day. And we hope somebody in power listens. We know that they know that millions of us hate what they are doing. They know that. And you know what? They don't give a damn. They're not going to be cowed by public opinion, just like they're not going to listen to facts or reason. That's why we have to make a demand, not a polite request, not a begging. We're making a demand. And we are demanding that this regime must go, and then we're acting on that demand. And we want to ask every single one of you to make that pledge you just did with Andy Z. To make that pledge mean something. To carry it through. There's a sister over here. Hold your sign up really bright. It says, Trump discriminates against the disabled people. Trump discriminates against disabled people. She came out here. I know it's hard to get around New York City in a wheelchair. Am I right? And she came here and she came to the front of the rally with that. And I'll tell you, we've all seen the pictures of people in the wheelchairs, people who are disabled, going to jail against the murderous actions of this regime. That has been righteous. If they can do that, we can do this. This cannot be their fight alone. that Donald Trump put in charge of refugees intervened and 2 times said no. And they locked her up and they wouldn't let her keep her appointment. And they held her hostage, a 17-year-old girl, an immigrant, an undocumented child, up against the power of the most powerful superpower in the world. She cannot be in this fight by herself. This is our responsibility. So when I say that we're taking a pledge together, have those people in your minds. Picture the immigrants in detention right now. Picture the young women and girls who are finding out that they are pregnant and they can't get access to abortion, or they can't get birth control coverage. Picture the Muslims who are being terrorized. Picture the people in North Korea. Hold them in your head. Visualize them as we take this pledge together. And Jamel is going to lead you to do it.
All right, so we're going to take this pledge, but like Andy said, this is about bringing people into this. And so we're going to do a little twist on this pledge. I want everybody to take out their cell phones. Take out this device that's been tracking where you have been and what you have done. And now we're going to use it to bring people into this right here and right now. All right? So we're going to take this pledge together, but I want you to take it as a selfie. And you're going to post it. You're going to post it up on your feed. And if you don't have social media, you're going to text it. Like Jay said, you're going to text it to your mama, text it to your father, text it to your sisters, everybody, your siblings, I don't care who, but text it to your people. All right, so we're going to do this together. Everybody got their phones out? Yeah. Raise them up like this so I can see them if you got your phones out. All right. All right? And make sure you're ready for this. Here, let me set up mine, do it for the brand right quick. All right. Do it for the brand. We'll see we'll do it in 15 seconds. And at this point, y'all should know it by heart, because we've done it a bunch. All right? The metaphor for this is on-the-job training, because this ain't no one-day thing. This is just the start of it. All right? So everybody ready? Y'all with me? Fist in the air. Fist in the air. And you're going to say your name. All right? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. In the name of humanity. In the name of humanity. I. Say your name. Jamel. Refuse to accept. A fascist America. A fascist America. In the name of humanity. In the name of humanity. I. Jamel. Refuse to accept. A fascist America. And one more time together with we, so we can all feel it together. In the name of humanity. In the name of humanity. We refuse a fascist America. We will not accommodate. We will not conciliate. We will not stop. We will fill the streets. Millions until Trump and Pence are gone. No, 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 no. Did y'all get all that?
And you're going to use the hashtag No For It Begins. NOV for It Begins. No for NOV for It Begins. And you can also do the hashtag, because today is November 4th, it begins. Tomorrow and going forward, it's hashtag Trump Pence must go. You got that? Hashtag Trump Pence must go. All one word. Okay, so we got just a few more people. I want to bring them up on deck. We're going to hear from Eva. After that, we're going to hear from the Rev Club. I want you next to the stage. After that, we're going to hear from some students who are organizing with this movement. Then to send us off in style, we're going to hear from Reverend Luis Barrios. So all y'all who heard your names, come get close to the stage. We're going to go through this because we came to hear these speeches, we came to get organized, but we came to take the streets, am I right? Yeah! All right, so give some love to Eva Sahana. She's on the steering committee of Refuse Fascism here in New York City. She's an organizer Cuba.
Hey everybody, thank you for coming out. I just want to start by saying this rally is happening right now in over 20 cities. Let's hear it for everyone around the country right now. And I want to give a special shout out to the protesters who are going out in Austin today in the face of some very vicious threats. We admire their courage and their bravery and for recognizing that it is far more dangerous to stay home. Okay, so people are in the streets today demanding that this nightmare must end, the Trump-Pence regime must go. And today we're the thousands, but we're calling out millions. You all are the heart of a movement to drive out a fascist regime in the most powerful country on earth. And your donations are needed for this movement to succeed. Today is November 4th, it's only our beginning. We're going to be in the streets every single day until the Trump and Pence regime is gone. And right now we're the voice for the majority of this country who hate everything that Trump and Pence represent. We are their voice. But to mobilize all of them is going to take a lot of money. The other side has funding from major corporations, wealthy families like the Trump family themselves, and they have state power. But we have the people. And you can make a donation right now. See our beautiful banners like this giant one, our signs that so many of you are carrying. We need more of these. This sound system, this stage, this costs a lot of money, and I want to tell you right now that on November 18th, 2 weeks from today, we want to have 5 times the size of this rally in the streets. So what about stickers? Imagine thousands of high school students walking out, thousands of college students storming out in protest, wearing stickers, Trump and Pence must go. Imagine the t-shirts, imagine the hats, the pins, everything people need to identify as part of this vital movement. Who here saw the New York Times full-page ad the other day? Yeah, shouldn't we have some more of those? We gotta have those, we gotta have them with the Washington Post. They gotta be everywhere. The world has to know about this. You know, it has to be put on the map. And you are needed to give a donation now because the people who can stop this regime are out there. But we can never win if we don't reach them. I went on the national tour to drive out the Trump and Pence regime. A bunch of volunteers, we traveled down from New York. We went down the East Coast, through D.C., through Georgia, through North Carolina. We went to Louisiana. We went all through Texas to the border at El Paso. And this took a lot of funds. We had to get a van rental, pay for food and coffee and gas money and materials. We went down there to organize organizers. And we learned that when we bring out the message, every single time, no matter what small city we were in, we would unroll our banner that said, no, drive out the Trump-Pence regime. And people, even in the deep south, people would come running over, so excited, so inspired. But the next thing they would always say was, I really wish that was possible. And so we here have a responsibility to show all of these people that there is a way forward, that there is a way to drive out this regime. And so for these people in smaller cities, they need our support. So how about staffing our national office where people can call in and say, hey, I need help, I need support. Another shout out to the tiny cities like Omaha and Pittsfield, Massachusetts that are rallying right now. It's amazing, give a hand for them. Okay. So we know that some of you came here today, maybe you took off work, maybe you could just barely pay the subway fare. We thank you, we love you for coming out here. If you can give $2, if you can give $5, that would mean a lot. But some of you can spend more than that. Some people here can give $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. Instead of your $5 coffee a day, instead of your $12 movie ticket, instead of your $50 dinner, donate that money to stop fascism. So Yeah, okay. So one last important thing before closing. I just want to say that right now as we're standing here, there are millions of people living their lives in fear. There are Muslims being viciously attacked in hate crime after hate crime. Refugees unable to escape war-torn countries. Black mothers and fathers worrying that their children will be killed by the police in the streets. Children afraid that they could go to school on Monday and come home to find their immigrants' parents missing. And so all of these people who are living in this nightmare need to know that they are not the only ones who are afraid. They are not the only ones who are angry. And they are not the only ones who want a different future. We are the movement to drive out the Trump and Pence regime, and you are now part of it, and you have to take this up and bring others into it. It starts by making a donation right now. Find our beautiful volunteers. They are holding buckets. See this bucket, the donation buckets. Find one of them. Dig deep into your pockets and think, what will it take to stop Trump and Pence? You are needed right now. Take out your phone. Go to refusefascism.org/donate. Refusefascism.org/donate. Write a check. Think about what this will mean for humanity. And then text 3 friends, challenge them to match your donation, because every dollar is going to make a difference. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. This nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go.
All right, we're going to get ready to march. Are you guys in a marching mood? All right, we got a couple last messages for you, and they're important. Everybody knows that students and young people have been on the forefront of every major movement for social change, every movement for justice. If you guys want to see the youth stand up and fight for a better future for the people of the world, then you got to welcome the next speakers. There are some student and youth organizers with Refuse Fascism. And I want, as the buckets go around, as you put money in the buckets, I want you to tune in for the students. We're going to hear from them, and then there's 2 more people real quick, and then we're going to start marching. So let's bring up the young students.
Hi, my name is Anthony. I'm a student at Baruch College, and this is Sabrina, and she is a high school student at LaGuardia. She's going to speak.
Hello, I am a senior in high school. I saw the injustice in this country, and once I saw it, I knew that the only option would be to use all my power to stop it. This is important. It is important to protest because our future depends on it. As high school students in New York City, we need to make sure that our home is not taken over by a fascist government. Thank you.
So, I began organizing with Refuse Fascism almost a year ago, just after Trump was elected. This was the first election that I was old enough to vote in, as is the case for most current college students. And to say the least, the outcome was really a jarring experience. As students, we're in a critical moment where we have to think carefully and critically not only about our own futures, but about the type of society and the type of world that we want to live in. What type of world do you want to live in? I don't want to live in a world where hate and bigotry are acceptable. I don't want to live in a world where a sex offender can be president. I don't want to live in a world where science deniers can head major institutions in this government. I don't want to live in a world where the president can joke about hanging LGBTQ people. I don't want to live in a world where a racist opponent of civil rights can head the Justice Department. Or entire ethnic and racial groups can be openly criminalized and vilified by the president. I don't want to live in the America that Trump and Pence are trying to create. That's why I organized with Refuse Fascism. First, Refuse Fascism is demanding for the removal of the whole administration, and we will not stop at anything less. However, more than that, we're hoping to influence and change the culture of passivity and complacency. We are hoping to change the culture which accepts and normalizes hate and the hate and bigotry embodied in this administration. We are here sending the message that fascism and all that characterizes it and all that characterized Trump and Pence and this administration are completely unacceptable. By spreading this message and by joining us today and in the coming months, we hope to influence the American culture, and we hope to create an America where people do not passively accept the politics of bigotry and hate, and where we do not swallow the injustices committed by this country within it and globally. If this sounds hopeful, that's because it is. But this is a hope that I believe is shared by many, especially many young people and many college students. And it's hopeful, but it's also possible. It may take millions of people coming out in the streets and staying out in the streets, but we will work to reach millions of people. And I believe millions of people are outraged and disgusted by this regime and understand how terrible this regime is and the implications it has for America, for the planet, and for humanity. Today is November 4th, so it has begun. And that means that we will continue after today to mobilize and to organize people in this effort, to spread this message, and importantly, to continue coming out, to continue joining actions and marches and rallies with Refuse Fascism, and each time bringing more people with you. Students, bring this message to your school. Help change the culture, beginning with your campus. Bring this message to other students and bring other students to realize the impact that they can have in this movement. And remember when you leave today the importance of the demands that we are making for humanity, for America, for humanity, and for the planet. Thank you.
Yo, what? Okay, can we give a huge shout out to Sabrina and Tony, the students holding it down. Yes, indeed. Now look, folks, we're here to get organized. So, folks who are there are two things I want to point out. Everybody, if you can look around, you can find the folks who are in orange hats, right? Those are going to be marshals. Everybody, folks in the orange hats, raise your hands. Everybody say, what's up? Say, how you doing? Those are going to be marshals, all right? Those will be marshals for our march. You guys can look for them if you need to know where to go. Second thing, folks, you see there's a theme around brightly colored things here. Cheeto and Chief. If you take a look at the highlighter colored slips of paper, folks can start passing those out. So the organizers with Refuse Fascism, these are contact cards, y'all. It is important. You're going to get one in just a second. It's going to come around to you. Start filling this out. All right? It's important that folks know, and we know how to actually organize with people. So we need all this information, and actually you need to do it too. All right. Next thing up, we're going to hear quickly from, or actually we're going to hear from folks here. If you've ever had the instance of stepping out for justice, and we heard a quote from Pastor Niemoyer, who was a survivor of Hitler's regime, that first they came for the communists. If you fight for justice, you're going to be standing shoulder to shoulder, and you're going to find yourself next to some communists. You're going to find yourself next to some revolutionaries. The next folks that we're bringing up, are folks near and dear, folks that I organize with and as a part of with the New York City Revolution Club. So give it up for Atta and Luan from the New York City Revolution Club.
We are here as supporters of the Revolutionary Communist Party and members of the Revolution Club to express our solidarity with every person and every group that has come out today. Shoulder to shoulder with you all and thousands across the country, we stand against the crimes of this regime, and together we demand this nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go. In the days and weeks to come, we will be working tirelessly alongside you to grow this movement from the thousands today to the hundreds of thousands to the millions that are ultimately needed to take to the streets night after night and day after day and not stop until this regime is driven from power. And we are also here to urge you to go onto the website www.redcom.us and get into the recent talk by Bob Avakian, the most radical revolutionary in the world today, the architect of a new communism and the leader of our party. Watch the film of the talk, The Trump-Pence Regime Must Go. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. A better world is possible. In this film, Avakian shines a light on the whole history of this country, demystifying the emergence of fascism in America and ultimately delivering in a real and living way what must be done to get rid of it. With heart and humor, he gets deeply into the questions involved in undertaking this task. You can find this and more at redcom.us. And tomorrow at 4 p.m., Revolution Books will be hosting a screening of the full hour-long film. The store is located in Harlem on 132nd Street and Malcolm X Boulevard. And you can talk to bookstore representatives who are among you for more information. Finally, everyone here is taking the first big step in bringing forward this great cause. Let this be a moment where we stand with each other, where we air our differences and treasure our unity, and where we go forward to actually drive out this regime. Because a better world is possible, and it is on us to make this a reality.
All right, let's hear it for Luan and Atta with the New York City Revolution Club. We've got just one speaker left, y'all. We got one speaker left, and we are going to hit the streets. We are going to make New York City hear us. We're going to make them feel us. We're going to bounce our chants off the walls. Am I right? Okay, so listen, before we step off, you're going to get an organizing kit. This has flyers. How many of y'all are from Brooklyn? How many of y'all are from Queens? Anybody here from Staten Island? What about the Bronx? And what about here in Manhattan? You're going to take these, oh, Jersey. What about Jersey? Get them out to other people, because we're coming back again and again and again. Each time we're coming back stronger. Each time you're bringing more people. Especially 2 weeks from today, November 18th, down at Washington Square Park, we want to have 5 times this many people. We want to have 10 times this many people. This kit is how you get organized to do that. Signing up today, you get organized to do that. So before we step off, I want to welcome our last speaker. His name is Reverend Luis Barrios. He's a brother who has been in the forefront of the fight against these attacks and terror on immigrants. He's in the sanctuary movement here in New York City. He has opened his church to house somebody under threat of deportation. He is putting his church on the line, and he is here because he knows, just like you know, that it is impossible to protect everybody who is being terrorized by this regime unless we drive it out. So give some love to Reverend Luis Barrios.
Good afternoon. Again, Buenas tardes. A few weeks ago I was in Cuba, and we were so excited, full of energy, and someone came up with this question: how can we help? And everybody was in shock when everybody in that room in Cuba told us, go back to your country, fix that shit that you have there, so we can live in peace. So that's why I'm here in the street today, to fix the shit that we have in this country, so we can bring back hope to our people. They lied to us when they told us that the struggle was going to be between people who believe in God and people who do not believe in God. That is not true. The struggle was, is, and is going to continue to be between those who practice justice and those who do not practice justice. So welcome to this movement. God bless.
All right, y'all. So I want you to repeat after me. Which one are we going to do to get started? Okay, where's Luan? Are you still near the stage? Is Luan still nearby? She's not. Okay, you're going to leave me to do this by myself. There's a new chant they made up the other day, and it's a good one to march with. It goes like this. It says, we are the thousands. Say that.
We are the thousands.
One more time, we're going to do it. We are the thousands.
We are the thousands.
Next you say, we are, we'll bring the millions.
We are, we'll bring the millions.
Okay, I mixed it up. It's we will. This guy up here is keeping me on it, okay? He's from Jersey. He's watching what I say. Okay, the second line is we will. We'll bring the millions.
We will. We'll bring the millions.
We will drive out this. How's it go? This is why I asked for it. This is why I asked for Luan. All right. We will drive out the fascists.
We will drive out the fascists.
Trump and Pence must go. And you put them all together. Bear with me. We're gonna do it. We are the thousands. We will. We'll bring the millions. We will drive out the fascists. Trump and Pence must go. Are you with me? Can you do it? All right, because in a second we're going to do it one more time, then we're going to turn around and we're going to head out south. So do this with me. Make some noise, and when you get to the I want you guys to throw your arms up and say it like you mean it, okay? You with me? We are the thousands. We'll bring the millions. We will drive out the fascists. Trump and Pence must go. All right. Let's see if the sound truck is ready at the other end. Are y'all ready back there? I think they're getting ready. Y'all can turn around and make some more noise while we get ready for them to start marching. I want to say, every single person, I know you turn your back to me as you should, all right? But every single person here, they lied to you when they told you Donald Trump had the biggest crowds for his inauguration. They lied to you when they denied climate change, and they lied to you when they say you can't make a difference. Every single one of us, we're going to take this forward. RefuseFascism.org. We need a good All right, y'all. Here we go.
I know.